Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Edusations. I have my favorite boxer here today on the show, Kelly from Virginia Beach. Kelly, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the guests?
Hey guys, I'm Kelly Hoggard. I'm coming here from Virginia Beach. I know a lot of you from Twitter, so I kind of know you digitally. And I'm just excited to be here and talk Champ for Kids and talk all things education.
Yeah, so really glad to have you here. One of the things that I was trying to think back, like when did Kelly and I first connect? And yeah, it was through a bunch of different Twitter chats. And you always talked about, and you always made these references to being a champ for kids. And that was something that I really found very infectious. But man, this is a really cool phrase. And it's something that I think we all as teachers strive to be. So, Kelly, how do you strive to be that champ for kids that you talk about?
I think that whole Champ for Kids thing, obviously we've all seen that Rita Pearson TED Talk that just, totally motivated you. If you have a heart for kids, that was powerful for you. And I can't even remember how long ago it was that I saw that, but I have always just been really passionate about making sure that kids get a fair shot and that they have a person and that their person is advocating for them, and just really looking at how can we make school a place for all kids, not just for kids who need a safe place, but a place for kids who seem like they're excelling and doing wonderful, but still they deserve to have a person and they deserve to have an advocate.
I love that. I think a lot of times, and it's just something I've noticed on Twitter, and I think it's a great thing that we have educators that are constantly trying to be the advocate for the kids, that they go home and their next meal might not be till breakfast the next morning, or they won't have a support system at home. But it's also important to be a champ for the kids that are excelling. I mean, I know on my end, at least, like I was a straight A student, worked really hard in school, and teachers were nice to me, but I never really felt like they stood up for me. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but
right.
I had to do a lot of my own self-advocating, which is what we want all students to be able to do, but we also want our kids to feel like we can be that for them too. Like we'll be the Rocky Balboa,
That's right. I'm really big on just trying to encourage teachers. It's easy to let those well-behaved, compliant, hardworking kids fall through the cracks because sometimes they're not at the forefront of, what we're trying to accomplish, because they seem to just go along and they get on the bus per se and ride along. But are we really doing what's best for them? Are we challenging them? Are we even incorporating any of their interests? I find sometimes, that squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so some of those kids who make the most noise, we tend to want to advocate for them, but I'm very much into the all kids deserve all things good. So I try to advocate for that. Lots of high expectations so that we are meeting those high level learners. And just, I don't know, trying to make sure that no kid, if we can get, not a single kid falls through the cracks.
No child left behind? Maybe.
Yeah. We'll go there. We don't want to talk testing.
So you are a gifted teacher in Virginia Beach. And
I am.
We've talked about this ad nauseum, it seems like. My wife graduated from Regent University with a master's there. We love that area. It's so cool. What's the climate like? And, climate both weather-wise right now in the summer, and I also mean, what's it like for students down there?
Virginia Beach City Public Schools is pretty awesome. I'm a graduate of Virginia Beach. So I went to Ocean Lakes High School and then went to Radford University and then came home and I don't know, this is year 16. I'm getting ready to start year 16 in Virginia Beach. And I just feel like it's a good place for kids. There are a lot of innovators in those higher up positions that are willing to support people, teachers and administrators, to take risks. You go to there's a lot of great PD, and there's a lot of teacher selected PD and teacher driven PD. And so that's pretty cool because you kind of get to the heart of what do teachers actually want to learn about.
What does the teacher selected PD look like then?
You can submit proposals for things that you like. If you want to do a book study within your building, if you want to do webinars, things like that, you can submit proposals to meet those PD hours that you have to get, but they can be a lot of topics. Of course, conferences and things like that. My principal is incredibly supportive of the teachers in our building attending conferences. So I've been able to attend and present at multiple conferences all over the state. And so it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. That is so cool. So, you do this you have this growing professional side, and I want to get back to the classroom stuff as well, because I do want to spend some time talking about what are some of the things that you do with your gifted students, because I always thought the kids that were in gifted were really cool growing up. I said it before, I was a straight A student, but whenever I took the test, I never quite met that mark for being deemed gifted. What are some major differences that you notice, because you're at Indian Hollow Elementary, right?
Indian Lakes.
Indian Lakes.
That's okay.
You're at Indian Lakes Elementary School, and you're keeping, the gifted elementary students. What are some differences that you notice between the gifted students compared to, the rest of the general population?
I think, well, one thing that we've kind of taken to heart in our building is we have a good understanding of that what's good for gifted as far as exposure to high expectations and authentic learning is really good for all students. And so we expose our whole student population to like problem-based learning and higher level like critical thinking skills and things like that, exemplars. But one thing that we really are noticing is social emotional needs of gifted students. And so we're working as a staff. My principal is, just kind of said, let's really start digging in to make sure that we're looking at the sensitivity pieces and some of those perfectionist pieces and, making sure that we're addressing, because we know that there are some components that we deliver to gifted kids that really should be exposed to all kids because they're challenging, they're rigorous, they're fun, they're authentic. And they're just cool ways to learn and look at things. So we do a lot of like disciplinarian work in my building from kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade. They think, work, speak like within whatever discipline they're studying. So my first graders we're physicists, we're studying force and motion, and they're talking the talk and walking the walk and creating their own investigations and things as first graders, not identified gifted, just all the first graders in our building. And so we have that aspect of what you might think is kind of gifted instruction going on for everybody. But then we also are fine tuning, looking at some of those social emotional connections. How does it feel when you're an isolate because you don't really have any cognitive peers, or, you know what I mean? So that's just one of the things that I've kind of tasked myself with this year, is making sure that I'm educating teachers and students, self-advocacy for kids, being able to explain their feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if there's a teacher watching this right now and they're trying to figure out, Kelly sounds like she's doing all these incredible things for her students to be that champ for kids. Where do I even begin? What would be some advice you could offer them then?
The C in champ is connected. Yeah. So you can't be a champ for somebody that you don't know. I think just really getting to know the teachers and the students that you're working with. I have always been really into forming like authentic relationships with my kids, knowing their family. I wrote a blog once about even knowing their parents' names, their cousins. They're sad when their cousin leaves and they come in on Monday in a funk, and you don't even know that their cousin was in town, and you know what I mean. And so it's kind of like one of those things where if you have those real relationships, you get to then you can build on like the being an advocate, having high expectations for them, knowing how you can push them, when to support, when to let them have productive struggle. But none of that really comes along until you have a connection.
And I like what you said about that connection, because I think whenever we are in our teacher preparation programs, we spend a lot of time learning about the educational buzzwords. We talk about Piaget, but my ed psych course was, I think, like 8 or 9 in the morning, so I was not exactly super awake all the time for those classes.
Yeah,
a lot of and as somebody that wasn't super familiar with a lot of the psych terminologies and things like that, a lot of what they said went over my head. And Maslow's, we didn't really spend much time talking about it. And so I think that's something that's very important for us to consider, is how do we make sure our students know that like we care about them?
Right.
How do we express that to them? I think that was a huge change for me this year. Was I thought I'm going to spend a lot of time this year building relationships early on. That way we don't have these problems that stem from me not knowing them or them not knowing me. That's a key part of it too. So like, how do you let them know who you are?
Yeah, I am really open, like with my kids. I try to engage in a lot of just like typical conversation. What would you talk about with your friends? And not that I treat them as friends, but you share things with your friends. We had a gymnastics meet this weekend and it was great, or it wasn't so great, or you know what I mean, whatever the case may be. But I kind of just, my kids my personal kids and my kids at school, they know about each other. You know, my kids at home will be like, oh, I saw so-and-so in the hallway today and gave them a high five, or I told so-and-so that you told me that they had a good football practice, or whatever the case may be. But I just try to like incorporate their lives into my life and let them see, you know, if we come back from a long weekend and I already know somebody probably didn't have a great weekend, I will seek them out and, you know, say, how was your weekend? And I don't necessarily say mine was great, I had a barbecue and so on and so forth, but I try to find something positive in it, you know, like, well, at least we're back together. You know, that's one thing that I really try to do is like focus on the positive with them to build relationships, you know. And so, I mean, I'm really transparent.
Yeah. And I think as you build those relationships, a lot of the things you say to connect, you know, not that they aren't, you know, inauthentic to begin with, but I think they get so much deeper. Whenever I got back from winter break and I saw my students, I said, guys, I really missed you.
Yeah. And they believe it. They do believe it. I have one little guy, actually, I blogged about him also. And it was like an uphill battle, you know, getting a real connection, because he just wouldn't let those walls come down. And after 2 years, you know, I'm picking him up and taking him to football camp this summer. And it's like, so what are we going to do this afternoon? So can you pick me up in the morning? So I'm going to be in South Carolina. Can I email you from my grandma's house? And I'm like, absolutely. But that was I mean, you can ask any of my people. They know that I was there. And I said, you know, I'm going to be here every single morning and I'm going to ask how your morning is. And even when you don't want to see me, guess what? You're still going to see me. And it took a little while, but finally it was like he was seeking me out before I could get to my hallway duty station. And I was like, okay, here's our breakthrough. We've made it, you know?
Those are the relationships that are 100% worth it too. Like every bit of sweat equity that goes into that.
Exactly.
Back tenfold. I love that. So any other advice for being that champ for kids? We talked about connectedness there. Anything else you'd for those beginning to consider that path?
I think the other thing really is high expectations, because if kids know that you believe in them to do some real work, they will rise to the occasion. I don't know if you ever read my blog about the Aaron Carter effect.
I think I did, yeah.
But if you didn't, it's kind of funny because it was like my first year in my building. And so I was new to the job, new to the building, in sort of a leadership role coming out of like kindergarten, first grade. And so it was very kind of like fine line to walk. Like you don't want to come in and act like you're, you know, all in charge of something, because you're really not. And so but we talked about how there was just an activity that they had done a bunch of times in the past. And the article that they had to read in order to do the activity was about Aaron Carter. And so I was like, okay, so here's another option of something that I kind of stumbled across that I feel like fits better. And it was really like digging into a short story. And it was kind of looking at like the Harlem Renaissance. And there was these little research options and just like a bunch of other stuff that I kind of pulled together, a bunch of different types of literacy. And they kind of looked at me like I had 10 heads. And I thought, oh, Lord, here we go. And I'm like, but guys, this is like serious high expectations. This is showing them we believe they can read real literature and interact with it. And so we ended up coming through. But at first it was like, who is this chick?
Isn't it crazy how whenever you give students high expectations, most of the time they're going to rise that expectation. And
they will.
They'll get pretty close.
And if you have that good relationship, they will tell you when the struggle has become out of their reach. They will say like, okay, I've done X, Y, and Z because I know that that's along the way of where I need to be, but now I need you. And that's where you really find that sweet spot of like teaching.
Yeah. And before they even tell you that they've hit that limit, that they will jump through a ring of fire for you because you would do the same exact thing for them. I think that's the big difference.
Exactly.
Between those relationships and not having those relationships with them.
True.
So we have all these tips to begin considering how to be a champ for kids. You also have a Twitter chat by the same name that has started up, and it has caught the Twitterverse by fire. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about how you came up with this vision of creating and starting this chat?
Yeah, so I was motivated to start blogging. I read Kids Deserve It this year. I'd read Teach Like a Pirate, I think in like 2014. And I was very in my own four walls, you know, in my own building. And people would probably say that I was a little bit of an advocate within that realm, but never really outside. I had a Twitter that was just for posting pictures of kids working, not interacting with other educators really. And so I read Kids Deserve It. I talked to Adam Welcome, and he was like, I don't understand why you're not like sharing with other people what's going on. And I'm like, I don't know, I just haven't. And so he's like, do it. I'm like, okay, so I'll do it. So I started blogging, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm sharing my blog and I'm talking to other people on their chats, and I'm like digging the vibe of these chats. But I feel like there's like something specific to my passion, my like desire to help people champion for all kids. And so then I was like, I literally one night I was like, I'm just going to start a chat. Tuesday, June 19th, I'm going to start a chat. And then I like looked at all of your promo cards and the 122 Ed chat, and I was like, okay, I need to make a promo card. Like, and I just kind of like, you know, just what we want our kids to do. Just kind of teach yourself and explore and see what fits. And then I set a personal goal for myself, and I said, I hope that 35 people will come to my chat on June 19th, and I can chat with people that I've met and people, you know, like, and when we finished that chat, there were 74 active participants, and I literally was like, what just happened? Christina was texting me like, what just happened? I was like, that was so cool. But I really always like, I want it to be organic. I want people to want to be there. I want people to be like, oh, hey, come check this out. I don't want it to be something where it's like forced on people who weren't looking for it. But I do think like that organic word of mouth, like it is spreading, and I'm excited. So many cool people in there. Christine Bemis, a bunch of people from my school are going out and like getting involved, and now they're connecting with like other educators that are in whichever grade level, or PE teachers and things like that. And I'm like, oh, check out so-and-so. And it's just really cool to like start up all these tiny connections that are really all founded in just coming to this chat. Yeah.
And, you know, to give you another example, and I know I've shared this with you before too, my wife, who, you know, I don't have to bribe her to join Whale Chat, but, you know, sometimes it feels like that. Sorry, Elby. She very quickly was like, one Tuesday night, she said, I want to do this Champ for Kids chat tonight. I
loved Laura Strunk. Yeah. And then my favorite part, so here's my favorite thing, because you had said before that she's like pretty shy and not really always like super wanting to do the chats.
Right.
Afterwards, she shared all of that cool seesaw stuff. And I'm like, look at this chick, like totally on fire. I loved that.
Yeah, she is. She loves seesaw. So
yeah, those were great. Actually, I shared all of that with kindergarten teachers that I used to work with at my last school, and first grade teachers. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. So yeah, if people want to join Camp for Kids Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
Yep. No, 8 o'clock. Sorry, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Eastern time, and then they can also sign up for text alerts as well, right? You taught me how to do that.
Yes, at the Remind app. If they follow the hashtag, they should see the images. I can post a couple more.
Okay, cool. So people can check that out. Kelly, we're starting to get to this moment, and it feels like it's been a very fast conversation because we covered so much. We're starting to get to the moment where our time is up. So, time for everybody's favorite part of the show. I'm renaming Fast Fives to High Fives because this is a great way for people to get to know you and be able to say hi to you afterwards.
Okay.
5 questions, totally unrelated to education. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. First one. Donuts or bacon?
I see what you did there. I'm going to go with donuts, but you know I like a donut with bacon on top. So, yes, donuts are always my go-to.
Uh-huh. So
I think people should have donuts at their wedding. That's a thing.
I've tried the bacon on donut thing. I can't do it. The salty sweet combo just doesn't work for me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, right? It's devastating. Bless your heart, right?
Yeah. So you have to try a bacon s'more. Maybe it will turn your life around.
Okay, I will give it a shot next time I'm in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Second one, hiking or swimming?
Ooh, probably swimming. Probably swimming. We're water people.
Living in Virginia Beach, you're water people, huh?
Yeah. Kind of crazy though, side note, and I won't take up your time, but the water that we're camping on right now, it's like a section of the bay, and it's wind driven. And like, so when the wind comes from a certain direction, south wind makes the area flood and a north wind pulls it out. And so we have we have jet skis that we take out on the water, and where we have them docked right now, there's no water. It's a deep channel. It's completely mud. So crazy.
That's really cool, though.
I know. I took my kids out there and we went and cleaned up the bottom of the bay, and we had 10 bags of trash from maybe 100 yards. It was crazy. So we did our good deed, but it was crazy that like what is normally chest high is just mud. It's really weird. Sorry.
No, that's a great story to share. That's awesome. Third one, board games or card games?
Card games.
Yeah, what kind of card games are we talking? Like rummies?
All right. Yeah, so with kids, we're probably, Uno, little poker, little just fun stuff. We played Cards Against Humanity, adult game.
Uh-huh.
So funny. Little crazy, but so funny.
Little crazy.
Yeah.
Next one, least favorite kind of bread.
Oh. Probably like that whole grain, multi-grain, really dry bread. I like white bread, just like that really soft, totally unhealthy, old school Mary Jane, white bread.
My parents used to give me the whole wheat bread that looks like white bread or whatever, and said, you won't be able to taste the difference or anything. I can taste the difference.
Yeah, you can.
It's very present. And last one, boxing or football?
Oh my gosh, these are hard. You specifically picked these to be hard. I'm not a real boxer, you guys. My Champ for Kids is really all boxing in my heart and digital boxing, I guess. You all know my best friend, Christina De Hero. She's the real actual physical boxer. She has actually in one of my promo cards, we took pictures of her real boxing gloves, the one that's like a row of boxing gloves. Those were hers. So really it is football. In the fall, our family is completely consumed with all things football. My husband is a football coach. We have a number of previous boys that are now in college, so we watch a ton of college football. My son is obsessed with football, so I would say football.
Awesome. I would say football too, but I don't box. So.
Yeah, me either.
Well, hey, Kelly, thank you so much for being on. As a reminder to everybody that's watching, Kelly's chat, #ChampForKids, is at 8 o'clock Eastern time on Tuesday, so be sure to check that out. Any final words before you leave?
I just hope that everybody comes by and shares all their goodness. I love the ideas that people have shared. It's really, I'm like, oh, I never even thought about that, or just their experiences with kids, with having to advocate with administration. We've talked about that a little bit before, and people shared some really great ways that they've done that. So I just love sharing with people, hearing other people's ideas, building ideas, combining ideas. And I also actually I need more people to help out with the Global Connections project that I am looking to do this year. So I would love people to come on and share their experience with Global Connections. Brandy Miller and any other friends who want to. I have a little project that I'm putting together right now. So.
Good. And if you are interested in helping out Kelly, you can very easily do that. Her Twitter information will be below in the comments section there. Thank you so much for watching today. If you continue to enjoy Edusations, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.